Ms. Buchanan, I knew you were going to ask a question.
Ask a question
Yes,
or two, yeah.
I knew.
To what extent are you utilizing CalTrans to help with the right-of-way procurement and some of the areas where it has expertise?
Sure. We are, part of our business model is, as an organizational business model is, I'd say our job is to build the program, not build up a state agency. And so we are looking to leverage the resources of other state agencies as much as possible, including Caltrans. Several ways we are utilizing Caltrans extensively in the right-of-way process, both through, we have some loan staff as well as staff we've hired directly as right-of-way, and we're using their legal department there. One of the key portions of the initial construction is a relocation of State Route 99 through Fresno. We've actually reached an agreement where that work is being turned over to Caltrans in a turnkey operation to deliver that entire section of work rather than have us contract out for it. We continue to rely on Caltrans in other ways and a number of different functions for support where it makes sense.
Thanks. That was pointed out in all the early reports and audits that was would be a good use of resources.
Yes.
And then, I've talked with Dan Richard and others, but do we have? I mean, as I recall, part of the requirement is that you have to go from San Francisco to L.A. in 2 hours and 40 minutes. Has that been verified by anyone that you're actually going to be able to achieve that goal?
Yes, we have the requirement in the laws that the system has to be designed to achieve those travel times, and we look at that in our process. And our new chief engineer effectively has looked at that question and signed off that yes, we can meet those standards.
Okay, I'd love to have a copy of those
Sure.
estimates and how long it'll take to get from the different points. And then the last question I have is something that I've wondered about, because we know the way the bond was structured. There are certain limitations in terms of needing matching funds, in terms of what can be spent for interconnectivity. And I think the interconnectivity amounts were limited to just under $1 billion, if I remember correctly. And so if we're giving more than that to Northern California to electrify Caltran and down to CalTrain and then and Southern California, and they're going to connect with high-speed rail, but they're not going to be high-speed rail. We're not laying new track. They're not going to hit 220 miles per hour, which, how does that then allow us to consider that part of the high-speed rail and not subject to the limitations on interconnectivity? Because even when I look at your map there, you're really going to hit the high speeds going down the center of the state there, and when you get to the others, you've got how your other local areas are connecting. So how are we able to define that as part of high-speed rail and not part of interconnectivity?
Sure. First, you're right. The connectivity funding that was provided for in Prop 1A was just under $1 billion, and that was specifically designated to agencies under a formula.
Right.
And those were for projects that connect to high-speed rail.
Right.
What we've done with CalTrain, for instance, is reached agreement with them to invest in the electrification of that as the first stage of moving forward with the program and of being able to
what is high speed about that? Why isn't that interconnectivity?
Well, because it actually becomes the first part of the high-speed network there on the peninsula.
Right, but the high-speed rail, I mean, you will have terminals there and stop, but it certainly is not high speed. That's the train that goes up and down the peninsula.
Right. But currently it's limited by several factors in terms of the speed of CalTrain. One is the diesel, that it's diesel run.
Right.
Electric trains can go faster.
Yeah. I think it's a good project, but what is your maximum speed going to be?
Sure. We've never assumed going 200 miles an hour through the
Right,
peninsula
it'll be-
or down in
it'll
the
be-
urban areas.
it'll be
So the
less
speeds
than-
are comparable
It'll
to...
be less than half of that, is what I would assume.
Yes, it would be about
Knowing that-
110 is what we've modeled, basically.
I think,
there for-
I would be amazed if it were, BART doesn't go to 110. I think BART goes to around 70, so I'd be amazed if you hit 110. And that then will connect to the main part of the high-speed rail. So are you worried at all that you're going to have a challenge, that you're spending high-speed rail money on the connection between San Francisco and high-speed rail and not actually on high-speed rail? Because it seems to me that we're, you know, and the same is true down in Southern California. I don't know how we call that high-speed rail. I just look at it as interconnectivity.
No, connectivity, again, is feeding into the system. The CalTrain electrification, we would actually operate over that and can do that, and part of the value of making that investment early is to be able to run the train all the way up through the Central Valley and over and,
Well, right.
and
that's
continue
what-
to
that
run
will-
it over that
right.
at the
And-
speeds that we would run otherwise.
Right.
It's a much more effective way of being able to achieve those goals than building full dedicated systems the way it was originally planned.
I'm just questioning the limitations in the bond in terms of what it says the money was for versus, you know, the interpretation, but I'm ready to move on.
No,